everybody, welcome back to my channel. So as promised, in this video I'm doing Mercury and Gemini through the houses. So Mercury and Gemini people, as I explained in my previous video, just to touch a little bit, they're very fast thinkers, fast talkers like I am right now. I'm just really channeling into your communication styles. But generally, all Mercury and air signs are very prone to like talk fast and process information really quick. You know what I'm saying? Because like the natural ruler of Mercury is Gemini, which is an air sign. So all the other air signs will have the ability to think quickly also. But also air is just very quick and it's swift and it's here and it's there and it's everywhere and it's up and it's down and it's left and it's up and like air is just everywhere. And that's why a lot of Mercury and Gemini people will also be everywhere with their thoughts. But as I said in my previous video, in my Gemini and Mercury video, is that the best way to use the Gemini energy is to choose one particular goal and then add all those Gemini thoughts into that one particular goal. Or I don't know, somehow orchestrate your thoughts so that this thought will assist the other thoughts and then essentially assist the innate goal that you have for yourself. And as I used the example in my last video, is that if you, for example, want to be a musician or an artist, right, and you are Mercury and Gemini and you have all these particular thoughts, right, you can take all those different ideas that you have and apply them in your music. And this is how we have people who have made different forms of music and different kinds of music, because they know how to channel their different thoughts and different vibes into one particular goal, which is to make music. Or even if it's art or painting and making bags or fashion, you know what I'm saying, you can use your different ideas to essentially assist the one main goal that you have. So the goal for you Mercury and Gemini people, the thing for you is just to have one particular goal. It goes for everybody. Like wherever you have Gemini in your houses, your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way to the 12th house, wherever you have Gemini is where you're going to be very chaotic and have all these ideas. So the best way to use that Gemini energy is to like pinpoint all those thoughts and direct it into one particular goal, one particular energy. Okay, period. Now with that being said, we're gonna get straight into Mercury and Gemini through the houses, because everybody could have a Mercury and Gemini, but it will be displayed differently depending on the houses that you have Gemini in. That's the vibe. So having Mercury and Gemini in the first house, right? So we know your first house is about your personality, your personal appearance, how you look, your actual physical body, how you look. I have an Aquarius rising, so I look weird as fuck, you know, those vibes. But you as a Gemini Mercury, I mean, in your first house, with your first house meaning, your personal life, personal issues that you have, things that you deal with personally, the people, places, and things that are in your personal life, and then essentially how you actually how you introduce your first initial awarenesses of the world. And then the second house would be the second initial awareness, and then the third will be the third initial awareness, and then the fourth will be the fourth initial awareness. Didn't think about it that way. Wow. Anyway, see, Gemini, just thinking of new things. I love it here, but sometimes. Anyway, but having Mercury and Gemini in your first house. So this is for all my Gemini risings, or maybe you're a Cancer rising and your Mercury didn't quite make it to the second house, so it falls into the first house of Gemini, because these things can happen. But having your Mercury and Gemini in the first house makes you someone that, I would say, these are the type of people that, I have a friend like this. I have a friend like this who has this Mercury and Gemini in the first house. So here's the thing. Gemini does well in the first house because it's a sextile with the Aries constellation, right? Now, I think, Gemini is able to think of many different things. Maybe not be so selfish, but they are able to think of different things, right? But I think in the first house, it will still be a situation where you still think about the things that you like to talk about and the things that you are personally interested. And then when someone isn't, like, you're able to relate, like you're able to talk to anybody, really. Having Mercury and Gemini awards you the fact that you can talk to anybody and dissect and, converse with anybody. But I think having it in your first house, I think these are the type of people that they like talking about the particular interest that they are into. I think the first house will always entail somewhat of selfishness or selfness, where you always having a Mercury in the first house will always, you're someone that thinks and communicates about yourself. Think about yourself. You communicate about things that you are personally interested in. Personal, aka first house, So what you're constantly thinking about as Gemini Mercury in the first house are the okay, wait, let me say it like this. So Gemini is always gonna have two sides to it, right? That fickleness. So it's gonna be split into two. And the first part is what you actually like, the first thoughts that you have about a situation or a person or whatever, and then there'll be the second thought will be the thought that's kind of governing what this thought is thinking. For example, it's wow, I'm so hungry right now. What do I want to eat? And then the other side of the Gemini Mercury would be like, damn, why am I always so hungry all the time? Why are people hungry? And then the other Gemini thinks like, yeah, people are hungry because that's how human nature is. And then I start talking to myself, and that's the whole Gemini thing, right? So it's a thing where with you having this particular Jekyll and Hyde, I think that's what they call it. Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde in the first house, you're constantly thinking about yourself, but the other side of you is thinking about how yourself always thinks about yourself. That's the thing. That's how I'm gonna put it. Because as I said, I have a friend like this, and she has a Gemini rising, Gemini sun, and Gemini Mercury. And I mean, let me say, she's able to branch out and talk about other different topics. But I think she always somehow because obviously Gemini Mercuries and all air sign Mercuries are able to have conversation because they are the conversation signs. She's able to kind of divert the conversation and apply facts that she knows in the conversation. So for example, I could be talking about my life and what I'm going through, and then she'll be able to relate. She'll be able to put her personal advice, not advice, but it can be advice. She knows how to for example, I'd be like, I'm going through issues with my family members, blah 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 blah. And then she'd be like, I get you, bro. I understand that. And a lot of people feel that way. I have gone through situations like this also. And I have dealt with them like this and this and this. And my family, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But it's still in a relatable way, because that's the thing with air signs. Air signs will always be relatable people. Or they'll always try to be relatable. Even though they don't entirely agree with what it is that you're saying, or they don't know what you're saying, they're going to somehow try to relate to you. They're going to somehow try and make you feel like they get you. Even though they don't. They know how to figure out a way to get you. So within the first house, as much as they're going to want to talk about what they're interested in and things that they've grasped that particular day or that particular week, that particular month, that particular year, and as much as they want to talk about what they have got going on. And that's the thing with Mercury and Gemini too, that they're not good listeners because they always want to say something. But with this particular Mercury and Gemini in the first house, they want to say something, but it's guaranteed gonna be about something that they are interested in, or something that they just learned, or something that they want to talk about, And as much as they can be relatable, I think they want to relate it all back to themselves. So this is where we kind of get the selfish-ish Gemini. Yeah, that's it. That's what we kind of get, the selfish-ish Gemini. But it won't even be looked at as selfish, as I said, because of that relatability and because Geminis know how to trick you. They know how to trick you or whatever, but you won't really get the sense that they're talking. You would have to know that person for a long time and really study their moves and how they communicate, Yeah. So yeah, that's Mercury and Gemini in the first house. You know how to, you're easily, you can talk to anybody, but you essentially drawing the conversation back to your own interests, your own personal interests. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and your personal interests can change all of the times, but it doesn't matter how much they change. You still want to talk about them, and that's where you're versatile. And that's why I say it won't be as negative to other people, because you're versatile and you know how to change your mind, but it's still gonna revert back to what you were personally interested in, and your own personal way of thinking about it. And most of the time it'll be, I guess, I think you know how to hide specific things, because Gemini, as I said, very deceptive. You know how to hide specific things that you can't relate to, because those are the parts of you that are just reserved for yourself and your own making and your own thoughts and all of that are yours, and your own personal selfish desires and whatever. You know how to hide those, or you know how to kind of divert that information, or how you say it in such a way that it's very lighthearted, that type of thing. But you're having Mercury and Gemini in the first house, talk about yourself constantly. And even though yourself changes a lot, you still want to talk about the changes that you've gone through, and you still want to talk about the personal things that you're interested in, regardless of how much they change. Move on to Mercury in Gemini in the second house, right? So we know second house is your house of I have, which is the house of your values, specific tangible things that you can offer to the world that can essentially provide you with longevity, stability, aka if you know how to play an instrument, you can use that to make music and essentially provide that to the world. But as a reward, you get money from that and you get fame and all of that, you know. If you're skilled and talented with money and numbers, you can get a job and offer the world your skills and your talents and essentially get money from that. You know, that's the second house, house of values. But it doesn't only have to be things that you like have that can get you money. This could also be people that you value, you know, your family members. You value your emotions. And in this case, with Gemini in the second house, you value your mind. You value your kop. Kop is brain in... well, go up his head in Afrikaans. But anyway, yeah, having Gemini in your second house, you value your, I mean, essentially having your, a Taurus rising, you're a Taurus rising, for all my Taurus rising, right? So having Gemini in the second house, you, your whole life, have always valued people who know how to communicate, and you know how to, like, make sense out of their communication, and you also know how to, like, see where you come from. You know what I'm saying? You like people that aren't very rigid, even though you as a Taurus rising may be very rigid with how you handle situations, but you essentially value people who know how to kind of bend to whatever visions that you have, right? But you also value writing and communicating and having different forms of communication, you know, because there's like different forms of communication, just like there's different poetry. There's like haikus and there's like other things. You know, there's like sad poems and then there's happy poems, and they're just this versatile thing, and you value that. So having Mercury and Gemini in the second house, you essentially someone who values communication, and you value other people who can communicate, and you value people that communicate, and you value conversations where things are lighthearted, you know, where we don't have to dive so deep into our emotions or dive so deep into our desires or what we're trying to get. I mean, we can get there, but it's like you appreciate versatility in communication. You appreciate the way that you can be versatile in your own communication. And I don't doubt that you, someone that loves to sing with this particular placement, and this is what you feel you can offer to the world because you have a Taurus rising and you have your Mercury in the second house. I mean, those second house placements, it rules your voice. So I wouldn't doubt that you know how to sing, right? I mean, obviously your 10th house would be Aquarius. So yeah, you could do that shit. You could just sing for a living. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Poetry, journalism, anything that has to do with you writing some things down. Or maybe you don't like talking. Maybe you're one of those Geminis that only talk to your journal. I don't know. It depends. Maybe you have like some hectic childhood trauma and you don't know how to talk to people, but you know how to talk to your diary or talk to your pet or talk to inanimate objects. You know, you just still value talking. That's the thing with these people. But you like, and if you're not one of those people that are like, you know, a lot more quiet or observant and shy and reserved, but you could be one of those Gemini Mercury people in the second house that value like podcasts, that type of thing. You know, you like that type of situation where you can listen to something for hours, where just people talk for hours. Or maybe you want to do that. Maybe you're someone that loves to talk for hours. I mean, air signs love to talk. Like Libras, Geminis, Aquarius, they love to talk or think. You know, maybe that's the thing with Gemini. I mean, Gemini, Mercury in the second house. You value thinking and communicating and analyzing and processing information. Just generally, you know, that's what it is. So because you value that and because it's part of your value systems, you do that, and that's what you offer to the world. So I think this is my advice to you guys. Get into some kind, and this is your second house. So we know second house, this is where you can get money, bro. So maybe look at the second house lord, where your second, so Gemini, look at where, so okay, second house, right? Your second house is Gemini, right? So if you have so we know Gemini is ruled by Mercury, right? So you have to look at where your Mercury is at, what house your Mercury is at, which I'm assuming would be in the second house. So you would have your second house lord in the second house, right? So how you can get money from this particular placement is to do something that requires your vocals and your words, you know. And I know Gemini is very quick with, like, understanding things. Like, for example, I'm going to keep using instruments because I'm a big music fan, right? So if you want to study the guitar or something, Gemini is very quick with, like, picking up how to hold different frets, how to, you know, maybe keyboard type of thing. Gemini is very quick with processing those things. So get into it. This is your sign from me, Teno Merkaba, to do that. Okay? Do that. Because you'll probably get money from that. Slowly but surely. Eventually you will. Just don't get patient with it, because I'm impatient, because I know Gemini energy, and I'm once again a Gemini moon, so I know this. So just learn to be patient and learn not to give up on things and learn not to get bored. You know, it's gonna be very difficult, especially if you're a Gemini sun also. have any other Gemini placements, like Venus. I think Venus is better because that's just how you love and appreciate. But if it's like in your big three, yeah, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. Getting bored quickly is not a good thing, you guys. It's really not. Anyway, moving on to Gemini and Mercury in the 3rd house. So this just adds a double emphasis in the Gemini energy, right? Because Gemini is ruled by the 3rd house, and Mercury also is home in the 3rd house, right? So it's just a bigger bowl of Gemini energy. As I said, Gemini is home in the 3rd house, right? So anyway, what this will mean is that you will probably, and if you have like this conjuncting your Venus in Gemini in the 3rd house too, you're probably someone that will find love in your neighborhood. Yeah, you're probably one of those people that are dating some dude from high school that you forgot about, or you're dating some dude from primary that you forgot about, or preschool. You know, anyone that you were familiar with, or anyone that you essentially grew up with that was in your home environment. That will be the thing. But that's if you have, as I said, your Mercury and your Venus in Gemini conjuncting in the 3rd house. Then that's the vibe. But if it's just your Mercury in Gemini, then I think, as I said, like, it's just gonna add an emphasis on the Gemini energy. You're someone who you naturally know how to talk to anybody. Like, I already said this, Gemini Mercury is not to talk to anybody, but with this particular placements, you really know how to like match people's minds toe to toe. You know how to make people believe whatever it is that you're saying. And God forbid that you actually do know, like, you've grounded yourself in a particular topic, in a particular subject, and you know everything about it, like accounting or something. You know how to really talk, like, you know how to talk that talk. You know what I'm saying? You know how to talk that talk. You know how to like really like get people to jump on board with your brain. But you also know you're not like one of those like stubborn people that will reject new information because they don't know it yet, or they have to go and study it from themselves. Like, you are a natural teacher. I even think with this particular placement, having Gemini anyway just makes you gullible also. I think you're someone that can easily be gullible, but I think as you grow up and you kind of learn how gullible you are, then you know how to like, work the system. Because once again, with Gemini energy, it's all about like understanding the different systems of things. For example, like Gemini, as I said, rules schools and your neighborhoods and all of that. Things that you are familiar with around you in your life and all of that. So if you think about mathematics, like that essentially becomes a familiar concept. Just like playing an instrument or whatever. Things that become familiar to you, you understand their systems and their programs. So eventually you will understand when someone is pulling one on you, especially when you get older. Because as I said, I'm going to keep saying this, I'm a Gemini moon, so I know this. I'm also very gullible, and it's embarrassing, right? It's freaking embarrassing. And you having a Mercury in Gemini, because you're already processing what people say to you. I think you also, and in the 3rd house, I think you could be very, very gullible with this situation. You just believe people just based on how good they sound. But you could also be that person where you're a complete liar and you make anyone believe anything, especially when you learn how confidence is key, and confidence really will make people believe anything. When you start learning that, and then you start lying to people, and you start like hustling and being a shyster and a gigolo, like, as Fernando Perdomo says. I love Fernando Perdomo. You start becoming a shyster and a gigolo and a con artist. You start becoming a con artist. That's and then you use your brain for, I don't want to say evil, because really in this world everything is messed up. Shit. But when you start learning what can work for you and how you can like use your wits and your smarts to your advantage, damn. Yeah, you could be like one of, like, what's his name, Ice Cube, because of Gemini, Sun, and Mercury, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like Lauren Hill, you know what I'm saying? Just, I would say, use your talents for good things, like art, you know what I'm saying? Making music, that's always fun. You can take your bad thoughts and your good thoughts there. Because here's the thing with Mercury and Gemini is that, like, sometimes they don't even know they're being rude. Because they're not, like, air is very distant from the water element. When the water element is all about your emotions, a lot of air signs like Libras, Geminis, Aquariuses, even some earth signs like Capricorns and like Tauruses and Virgos, they'll be very emotionally like detached and aloof. And it's not because they I mean, that's just the natural energy of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not necessarily overly connected to their emotions. Or let me say that the way that they process their emotions is going to be a lot more detached and a lot more trying to calculate how to find a solution to not feel that way anymore. They want to calculate how to not feel that. Like, what steps can I take to avoid these feelings? And is it going to be running away from it? Is it going to be, I don't know, leaving the conversation before things get too deep? Is it, you know what I'm saying? That type of thing, you know? It's really just to avoid situations. But that's, of course, if they choose to learn about their emotions, or if they're like aired out, whatever. But it really does depend on so many things, because some people just have fucked up childhoods, so they try to avoid all those things, you know, whatever. But with the Mercury and Gemini, that's the thing. I think having whatever moon sign, because as I said, Mercury is going to dissect how we think. Like, if I'm feeling something, I'm going to think about it after, right? And thinking, that's the Mercury part of it. So I'm going to, as a Mercury and Gemini in the 3rd house, I'm just going to dissect those thoughts that I'm thinking and, like, try to figure out how to, you know, find a solution, protect those feelings again, that type of thing. So having Mercury and Gemini in the 3rd house, that's you. You're naturally doing that all day. And you know how to, like, help other people rationalize their thoughts, because you're rationalizing everything anyway. You're constantly rationalizing everything, and damn, this lighting is doing my skin beautifully. Drop a comment if you have a crush on me. Anyway, let's move on to Mercury in Gemini in the 4th house. So we know 4th house is a water house, so it is going to be dealing with the emotions. It's going to be dealing with the emotions. I hope I said that right. Anyway, yeah, Gemini 4th house deals with the emotions. Well, the 4th house deals with the emotions. You know, your roots, where you come from, the childhood that you come from. You know, the general energy that you will feel comfortable around, your comfort zone. That's your 4th house, your comfort zone, your roots. You know what I'm saying? But generally your comfort zone, because I mean, depending on whatever sign you have Gemini in there, you'll want to uproot or still stay with those roots, right? But anyway, having a Gemini Mercury in the 4th house, right? I think this kind of also adds a little bit. I couldn't talk about this because I feel like I would share this. It's like kind of having a Gemini moon, you know, where your emotional world, or what makes you feel comfortable, is thinking. And your thinking can be very childlike, but it can also, yeah, it's childlike, but it's also like rational, but like, I guess it can be unrealistic, because Gemini energy can really rationalize anything. Anything. They can rationalize anything. Like, as unrealistic as it is, they can rationalize it and somehow make it make sense, even though it still doesn't make sense if that's to say it out loud. It won't ever make sense because it doesn't make sense, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, having Gemini and Mercury in the 4th house makes you a type of person where you naturally emotionally respond to. It'll kind of give you, like, how I was saying in all my other videos about having Mercury in the 4th house, is how you process information is going to deal with the mood, you know. So how you naturally dissect information is based on how it made you feel. That's why I say I'll just kind of prescribe this with having a Gemini moon, because you're going to dissect people's words based on how it made you feel, you know, or how they felt when they said that particular thing. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes with the Gemini energy, it can be very confusing, because it's the 2, you know, it's the 2, it's the Pollux and Castor, you know. So you may pick up on a particular energy and then start thinking about it and thinking of 2 different, either completely different ideas or parallel ideas that will, you know, contradict each other or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Saying having your Gemini Mercury, right, in your 4th house, how it could play out is it can be a little bit confusing, because you may not know how to process that information. Is it going to be in the Castor way or Pollux way? Is it going to be the evil twin that comes out, or is it going to be the good twin that comes out, you know? Because as I said, with Gemini energy, you never really know what you're going to get. And how you respond to whatever someone gave to you, or how you respond to whatever that you're perceiving right now, will all depend on which twin is going to respond. And that can get kind of frustrating for yourself also, because you don't know how whatever you're going to respond to, is it going to sound nice, or is it going to be funny? You don't know if it's going to be funny. You don't know if it's going to be rude. You don't know if it's going to be confusing. You don't know with this particular placement, you know. Like, you're just as surprised as everybody else is when you start responding. But how you're going to process that particular information will also once again depend on what which twin is in place. Which twin is in place, you know, because it can be a situation where, because you are dissecting information based on the moods, which is your 4th house, right? This is all about the 4th house. You're dissecting your emotions based on how something made you feel, or based on the emotional vibration that information hit you with. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. But at the same time, it's hitting two of you because of that, those twins. You know, like that person. And I think maybe you could also get good at maybe like laughing it off, or you could also get offended but maybe not show it, or you could have like some Aries moon and then you react quickly and then you say something rude without really fully digesting or fully processing what that person said. But as I said, it's really just gonna, how you dissect emotions with this particular placement is how it made you feel. How did it make you feel? And then that's how you start rationalizing those feelings too. But as I said, you can't really rationalize feelings, and that's just how it is, you know. But I think with this particular placement, I think a really good way of working with it is to just like kind of take a step back and like just kind of listen to how that information made you feel. I know sometimes in situations it requires you to think on your feet, so you do that, you know. But because Gemini energy is quick still, I would say just take like literally 1 second, because it really does take 1 second for Gemini energy to like, you know. So just take that 1 second to be like, okay, how did this make me feel? And then you can respond to that shit, you know. And as I said, not all situations will require or give you time to sit back and think about it, but just, or maybe don't sit back, because when you start thinking, then that's when that's when things get. But you see the contradicting of Gemini, because you think of one thing and it's like, but maybe, but then again, you know, that type of thing. I don't know. So damn. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. Just sit back and think about it. Just because really, this is gonna be the Mercury sign that makes you have to sit back and like, you know, really dissect how that information made you feel. We're gonna move on to Mercury in Gemini in the 5th house, right? For all my Aquarius rising period. Yeah. So Mercury in Gemini in your 5th house. These are the type of people that, see, 5th house is a fire house. This is the Leo house, right? So it's very expressive naturally. You know, whether you like it or not, it's gonna be very expressive. It's gonna be very childlike. It's gonna be very like, you know, playful. Very playful, very, as I said, childlike. Just think about children. Children are very playful and they just want to have fun all the time, right? So having Gemini Mercury, this kind of makes you think that way. I don't think you're someone that takes, as you process things, you're not someone that, you're like not someone that intentionally hurts people with this particular placement. I think you can, depending on everything, your life, where you are, your emotional standpoint, what your moon sign is, or maybe you have a Scorpio moon, whatever, who knows? Who the fuck knows? You know, but having your Gemini and Mercury in the 5th house, whatever you say will naturally always be funny. Even when you're mad, it's gonna sound sarcastic, and that's essentially gonna sound really funny at the end of the day, you know, because Gemini is a sextile to the 5th house, which is the house of Leo, and we know Leo and Gemini create a sextile with that 60-degree angle, right? Right. So having that in the 5th house is all about like your entertainment and having fun and enjoyment and, you know, dating, but like the fun fuzzy parts of dating, like the honeymoon stages, you know, that type of energy. Honeymoon stage, that feeling, that's the 5th house. You know what I'm saying? Think about your childhood memories when you were at school in creche or preschool, whatever you guys call it, you know, with your friends and having fun. That feeling, that's the 5th house, right? So having Gemini there, what you're constantly talking about is like something funny and goofy. You definitely should consider being a comedian with this, because you're probably like, you just saying hello is the funniest thing ever. It's hilarious, right? And it can also get really frustrating for you, because as I said, you could have like a serious moon sign. You could have like a Scorpio moon sign, or a Capricorn moon sign, or even a Virgo moon sign, or a Taurus moon sign, maybe, whatever. Or your moon could be in the 8th house. Yeah, your moon could be in the 8th house or something, you know. And how you process your inner world could be very deep and secretive and whatever, but the way you talk is so funny. You're naturally lighthearted. Like, you sound lighthearted, you know what I'm saying? And that could actually be to your benefit too, because I think funny people are the greatest people in the whole world. Funny people make the world go around. Literally, the world is going around because of the funny people in the world. Yeah. So you're one of those people. You make the world go around. You make the world go around just by your humor and stuff, and it's unintentional, and it's a gift and a curse, because the gift is people may not always take you seriously when you want to be taken seriously and when you want to, you know, really be vulnerable right now. But the things that you're saying may be very funny. So it'll take like a fire, like an Aries, or even whatever, fire sign, water sign, to really connect with when you're being serious or when you're not. Because if you're around like another air sign, or you're around like a earth sign also, that may not always be cognizant of your moods, or you know, what it, like, when you're being serious and when you're not, then, you know, they'll just always laugh at you. But yeah, even you just being upset sounds funny. And I think this could also, like, I think you even laugh at yourself sometimes when you're upset, because that's how you dissect your own emotions, and that's how you dissect the world around you. Like, everything is just a big joke, but also everything is, like, funny and childlike to you. And I think this is a really dope place. But I know someone like this. I do know someone. I think even the things that you're into, like things that you, like the career that you would probably get into would be some kind of entertainment industry, you know, like that's what you're really knowledgeable with. And that's what you're constantly thinking about, like the entertainment industry and how to express yourself artistically. And, you know, the people that you're around, can you relate with them artistically? Because the Gemini energy, as I said, you can relate to anybody, but like your preference will obviously be determined by the house it's in. So what you're naturally thinking about, and what Polar and Castor, what your two twins inside of you are constantly thinking about, is like the entertainment industry and how to be fun and enjoying yourself. You probably have many interests with this. I have this placement, so I know I have many, but it's in my moon sign, so this is the world I live in, but this is how you think. So you're constantly thinking about different, like you probably have a lot of ideas. Like you probably want to be many different things. Like you want to be a singer, you want to be an actor, you want to be you want to do yoga. I'm talking about myself right now. But it's gonna make sense because it's also gonna apply to you, you know? Like you wanna be a yoga instructor, you wanna be an astrologer, you wanna be a musician, and you're just thinking of how to bring all of these things together, and it's like confusing, and you're just like, universe, like why do I have to be so talented and whatever, you know? But it's that thing, you could also be, like you could have many different interests. Like you could know how to play the guitar, but also know how to play the piano, but not fully, like you're not fully invested in just playing the piano, you're not fully invested in just playing. You wanna get to play all these different instruments. But as soon as you get to like learn, for example, right, you learn how to play the guitar, right, and you kind of get the gist of it, like you got the basics, and then you get bored. Then you want to move on to bass, and you do the same thing, you get bored. Damn. Then you move on to being a yoga instructor, and you kind of know it, but damn, I'm bored. You see, it's like having many different, and especially if you have fun with these things, because God forbid you have this shit conjuncting Jupiter or like Neptune. I don't think anyone would have it in Neptune yet. But if you have a trine, like if you have a Gemini, Mercury trining your Uranus in Aquarius and Neptune in Aquarius, then it'll be similar vibes to that. You know what I'm saying? Where you just have so many different interests, and that's constantly what you're thinking about is your different interests. And it's just confusing for you to like really commit yourself to one particular thing, because you are genuinely interested in knowing and getting to achieve and get the benefits of doing all these particular things, without considering that you probably will be drained. You might be really exhausted. You might not have time to do other things that you're interested in if you have all these different interests. But it's like, to you, there's not enough time in the world to get to know everything. So you either like try, or you get exhausted because you've like spread yourself so thin. You just have no energy, and then that's when you become a lazy Gemini. And I get you, because I've been there before. Okay, so just find maybe one thing that you're committed to that's like, that surpasses all your other interests or short-lived interest, and commit to that while you still try everything else. You know, maybe, you never know, you might find that you're actually good at another thing, and then, you know, you can include that to what you already have got going on. You know? Those vibes. So anyway, we're gonna move on to Mercury in Gemini in the 6th house, right? So 6th house is all about you. This is the Virgo house, right? Once again, I like talking about Virgos because I am a Virgo, and the 6th house or whatever. But the 6th house is the house of your health, you know, things that you do on a daily basis. And I don't think we really appreciate how important the 6th house is, because that's really our everyday life. This is what we do every day. Like, these are the small habits that we do every day that contribute to our health, to our body, to the way we think. Just everything. Just like everything. Like, that's just, excuse me, that's the 6th house, right? So having Mercury, and the sun is gonna go down very slowly. Damn, this lighting. Maybe if I do this, is it? Yeah, it's working this way. But anyway, having Mercury in Gemini in the 6th house. So, you know, as I said, 6th house is your everyday life. It's your health. It's, you know, your habits, little habits, or even habits that you do now that will affect you, you know, later. Like if I start smoking cigarettes now, If I smoke 1 cigarette every day, that's a habit. That's my 6th house. If I'm smoking cigarettes every day, it's eventually going to develop into a routine, right? Which is the 6th house, right? And that routine will develop into things that I like. It'll affect my health. If I drink water every day, it's going to affect my health. If I jog every day, it's going to affect my health. If I smoke every day, it's going to affect my health. If I'm doing drugs every day, it's going to affect my health. If I'm watching TV every day, it's going to affect my health. If I'm doing anything that we do will somehow affect our bodies, and essentially it will affect our health, you know. And that's why Virgos are like super like neurotic and a bit like cuckoo, because they're constantly thinking of the small things that could affect the bigger picture, aka their stability, aka like, you know, their life, really. So having Gemini and Mercury in the 6th house, once again, Mercury likes to be in the 6th house. So this is for all my what? This is for Aquarius, Capricorn, I think Capricorn, Pisces rising. Gemini 6th house, Capricorn rising. Oh, my Capricorn rising. So you naturally, as a Capricorn rising, your daily basis life requires you to be in some kind of communication. You probably talk to your friends a lot, whether you want to, whether you don't want to. Your everyday life requires some kind of communication and thinking, some kind of, you know, analysis and analyzing things of your life. It requires some kind of, you know, thinking. So you oh my god, anyway, so you as a Gemini Mercury in the 6th house person, you are constantly someone that is thinking about these things, you know. So you probably could be that hypochondriac person that's overly thinking about, oh my god, is my health okay, is my health fine, right? And having Gemini here, because it is like a very playful childlike house, you're probably someone that it's like you have these polar shifts where you don't really take your health seriously, and then all of a sudden you're worrying about it, you know. There's no in between. Well, sometimes it could be, but it's also like it's just this or that type of energy with Gemini. Because once again, Gemini, there's 2 people in there, bro. Gemini, there's 2 bitches in that word, but having Gemini in your 6th house, this is what it is. Like, you either not caring about your health because you're too busy thinking about other things that have nothing to do with you taking care of your actual body. And you as a Capricorn rising, you having your Earth in your 1st house, your first initial awareness, hopefully you have some kind of Taurus that also connects you to your health and your body, you know. But stretching out and like being active, not only mentally, because that's what it'll require you, having Mercury in Gemini in your 6th house, but having Gemini in your 6th house in general. Before I get to that, having Gemini in your 6th house in general makes you someone that is like your everyday life, as I said, requires thinking and communicating to your friends, especially. You know, you may have like a very small group of friends, but you're always chatting with them because you're either at university, so you're forced to sit with them and talk to them, you know. So you're part of your, like, what makes, I would say this, let me say this, having a Gemini Mercury, your natural health and your health will depend on the environment that you're in. It's similar to having a Cancer 6th house, which I have also. But oh, there's a cute bird out there. It's so cute, sitting on a rose quartz. Damn, now I'm distracted. Anyway, but having your Mercury, I know you guys get it. That's why I feel so free to be who I am right now, because I know you guys get it. Like, you guys get being distracted easily, whatever. But having your fucking Mercury and Gemini in your 6th house, right? What makes you healthy and the things that will cater to your health is, first of all, looking at your house lord, right? As I said, having your Gemini in the 6th house, you need to look at where Mercury is at. And obviously, if it's in the 6th house, then once again, this is an earth house, right? 6th house is an earth house. So this is how you can tangibly sustain a stable life for you, aka be financially stable. So one way of this is getting, also, as I said, with someone who had their Taurus rising. So if you have your Gemini rising in the 6th house, ways or forms of gaining stability in your life is to do something that has to do with like communication, or like verbally using your throat chakra, because that's what Gemini is ruled by, the throat chakra. You know what I'm saying? But generally, what makes you feel healthy is if your thoughts aren't chaotic. Because I think with Capricorn risings, with this particular placements, you're already like somewhat of a realist, or it could be a pessimist also, but you would say it's realistic thinking, you know? and you're constantly thinking, also having a Gemini Mercury, but if it's in your 6th house, then you're constantly thinking about things that happen to you daily. You know, you're constantly thinking about like, or even confusing yourself about the things that you want to invest yourself daily, because you could also be one of those people, you change your mind about your health routines, you change your mind about like how you want to get healthy. You know, one day you go to gym and then you get bored and then you start thinking, I'm just gonna do yoga for the rest of my life, and then you do yoga for like 30 days and it's like, oh, I'm bored now, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take a walk, and then you take a walk for like 10 days and you're like, oh, I'm bored, and then you even develop like skincare routines, like you know your skincare routines, or even being a vegan or whatever. You're like, I'm vegan for 3 months, and then it's like, but that's boring. Or I'm gonna wash my face with what's Johnson and Johnson, and it's like, okay, but what if there's something else that's better? That type of thing. That's what you're constantly thinking about. And these things change all the time. And even just jobs. You're probably someone that has changed many jobs with this particular placement. You've changed jobs, or you've quit because you got bored, or you maybe thought something was better. The grass is greener on the other side. You know what I'm saying? I know Gemini energy can do that. You know, you're already thinking about like different ways of how to, you know, you just have like a lot of ideas of things that deal with your 6th house, which is your daily life. So you may even like, I don't know, you may just jump in and out of habits, jump in and out of like things that you do on a daily basis. That's the thing, and that's what you're constantly thinking about. But the good thing is that you know how to organize with this. You know, this is similar to the energy I have. I'm a Virgo Sun, Gemini Moon, so my should be changing all the time. But it's like you're constantly trying to find stability, constantly trying to find you know, a better way, an improved new version of how to do that one particular goal. For example, a skincare routine, you know, you're constantly thinking of new ideas of how to protect your skin and have amazing skin, but they change so much because you keep coming up with new ideas, and that's what your mind is naturally on. You keep thinking about new ideas on how to improve your health. You know what I'm saying? But because of that, two Geminis, one person, another person, you're constantly thinking about, like, it's like you sometimes torn between like you're torn between decisions. Hold on. Is this on now? Oh, right. Just preparing. Just preparing in case it gets very, very dark. But yeah, you're constantly like trying to think of new ideas to improve your health, right? But also how you process information, because like the 6th house is going to give you some Virgo characteristics. So it's the same, like when someone talks to you, I think you'd be the Gemini Mercury person that like you're a lot slower with responding. Like the thoughts and processing is just as quick, if not quicker, but you're just as like maybe a little bit reserved in terms of, and also having a Capricorn rising, so you probably do like reserve yourself. Like when someone, I don't know, comes at you with some rah whatever, or even whatever, like even at school, like you take you maybe a little bit of time to like process information, or maybe not. Maybe you were like really good with math, because I feel like this particular placement is really good with mathematics and just any kind of like calculating a system. Yeah. But yeah, even, and let me say socially, you're probably someone that requires some time to like process things. You know what I'm saying? Like it maybe not as time, maybe not like a Taurus Mercury where you need like 5 years to respond to one text because you're not ready or you weren't comfortable, whatever. Like, it's not like that. But you as a Gemini Mercury person in the 6th house, you're someone that like it takes you maybe like 2 seconds just to like sit back and really analyze how you want to respond. But when you do, you already have organized the thought itself and you've presented it in such a way that it's sharp, but it makes sense. And that's the thing with this. I think you always do strive to make sense, but it can be a bit chaotic still because there's 2 of you. So 2 of you are trying to make sense of a situation, and it's 2 distinct different personalities trying to make sense of one particular situation. So, you know, that's the thing. So anyway, moving on to Mercury in Gemini in the 7th house. Wait, in the 7th house, right? So Mercury and Gemini in Mercury and Gemini in the 7th house. So we know 7th house, first of all, is a trine to the Gemini energy because this is the Libra house, you know, the Libra constellation vibe, whatever. So this is like the vibe for that. And Libra is home in the 7th house, so I think Mercury in the 7th house kind of helps the Gemini energy. But what this entails is that you're constantly thinking about relationships, but not just like, I'm talking about dating relationships. And because Gemini and air signs are very dual, or they can be very dual, and they can be very like, you know, inconsistent. You're constantly thinking about relationships. Even when you're in a relationship, you're thinking about another person. And that's just the way it is. Having a Sagittarius rising here, bro, I mean, you personally handle your business in a very, like, sometimes unrealistic way, but a very passionate way, you know. But and then your relationships, the shadow side to you is that you're actually very fickle, you know. You're very two-sided, and you're very, like, you're very smart, but you're very inconsistent also with this particular placements as a Sagittarius rising. You're very inconsistent. That's your shadow side. You're very inconsistent. And then in the 8th house, in Cancer, you're very emotional, and you demand emotions, and you demand, like, fucking comfortability, whatever. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about how inconsistent you are, right? With having this Mercury in Gemini in the freaking 7th house. See, right now, I'm busy doing one thing and another. That's you. But with relationships, you're busy talking, like, this is me and this camera, I'm dating this camera, but really I'm thinking about, like, everybody else. I'm thinking about, damn, what happened to my ex when I was in grade 5? What happened to that ex? I wonder what he's doing. I wonder if he's doing okay. But at the same time, I wonder what happened to that guy I hooked up with when I was in Melville that one time. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. You're constantly thinking about that relationships, and, like, either how to improve your current relationship. Maybe you have some Taurus, so you are very stable, and you want to do all these many different things with one particular person, especially if you have, like, a Capricorn rising, a Capricorn moon with, like, your Taurus moon, and you have, like, a Gemini Mercury, you know what I'm saying? That at least that helps. At least that helps you become stable. But if you're not, if you're like a Gemini sun and your moon is in Leo and you have a Gemini Mercury, oh my god, in the 7th house, bitch, you are a hoe. I wouldn't be surprised, and I mean, I own that shit, you know. I mean, especially if you're my age. If you're 20 years old, I'm turning 21 in a few days, by the way. But if you're, like, you know, 20, 21, and around that age, and, you know, do it like a show be day. Really do it. Do it like a show be day. Anyway, just do it, like, whatever, you know. Own that shit. But that's the thing with you. You're very inconsistent with your thoughts. And I also know with this placement, you are probably very, very good with numbers. Or maybe you're not good with numbers because, like, it required so much, like, concentration. Maybe you didn't know how to concentrate because your mind is in totally different, so many different places. It's just everywhere, and this way and that way, and every which way, and you just don't know how to stabilize your thoughts or whatever. Especially in relationships, you know. You may even forget people's names. Like, you may even forget the person you're dating's name with this particular placement, dude. Fuck, dude. Or maybe you're just never satisfied, because with this is, like, air signs are very superficial in the way that they, as I said, don't concrete themselves into anything. Like, being, like, one thing like that they're consistent with is being inconsistent, right? So having Mercury in Gemini in the 7th house, and we know 7th house is all about relationships. It's all about how you connect with someone on a one-on-one basis. I think you're very, very good with conversations. You're very good with talking to people. You're very good with, like, getting to know anybody and making anyone feel like you've known them for years and ages. You know, you just naturally a very loving, lighthearted person, you know. Even the way that you process information isn't necessarily on some dark shit. You just like processing information in order to relate to someone. That's something, like, with air signs, you like to just relate to someone. And even if that means lying or somehow telling a little bit of tattletales there and there, just so that someone feels comfortable enough to relate their lives, or even just tell you information about themselves so that you can be able to relate to people, you know, regardless of whether you've been through a situation similar or not. I mean, you can literally not know anything about your grandparents dying, but here your friend is telling you about how she feels about her grandparents dying. You, as I said, you may not know that, but you may have had a cousin die, and you know maybe how that felt, so you can relate that feeling to what she's feeling, you know, even though it's different, you know. Just, this is a simple example, but even though it's different, you just know, you just like relating to people. You like, and as I said, you could be lying all the time, but just for the sake of you having a conversation and relating your life to someone else, and someone else coming to you with information about their lives, you appreciate that. That's what you like, and that's what you like to talk about, you know. But as I said, with this particular placement, you could also use relationships to get from point A to point B, because we have to state the bad side, the negative side, the shady side to the shit, you know what I'm saying? And the shady side to it is that you could also be a user with this, you know. You could use relationships, especially relationships. Other people use people that they don't know, but with this, you would use the people that you're dating to get from point A to point B. Or you may only date a particular person, like, you may only want to date Jay-Z's little cousin, because you know that Jay-Z's little cousin can get you somewhere. I don't know, this is a bad example. I should probably use South African artists. Like in Johannesburg, there's like the cool people like Casper Nyovest, these are like the ultra celebrities like Casper Nyovest, aka whatever. You may only want to be friends with AKA's cousin just because you know you want to talk to, you know what I'm saying, that type of thing. That's the negative side of this, is being a user, but at the same time you're very good at that. So you know, I guess do what you gotta do, period. I think that's all I want to say about this particular placement. Yeah, you're very good at, just naturally good at conversations, you know, like Gemini in the second house, in the sixth house maybe, or the fourth house may not always want to talk to people, but in the seventh house you're naturally like, you look forward to talking to people. It's like some people may not always look forward to talking to people, you know what I'm saying, like, and at the same time having the Gemini energy, it's two people, like I said, so you know, it really does depend. But at the same time, like, if you really wanted to, like, even if you didn't feel like it, if you were in the mood to talk, like, you know how to formulate your words to really get that conversation going. And that's the thing, you're really good at conversations, you're really good at keeping a conversation alive. And this is the same with Gemini in the fifth house too. You guys are really good with keeping a conversation alive and, like, you know, keeping it interesting and stuff like that. You're just very fickle. You're probably not someone that can be trusted. Like, we can't trust your word, you know, we can't really rely on you, because you probably just promised that because you know it would make us happy at the time, but you probably forgot about it now on the day when we actually need it to happen, that type of thing. You know, that's one thing about you, unless you have Taurus placement. But even still, I have a Taurus friend with two Gemini placements, and that bitch ain't shit. But I don't even complain because I ain't shit either. Anyway, so moving on to Gemini and Mercury in the 8th house, right? So we know 8th house is the house of your secrets and, you know, things that you keep to yourself. And this is the house of deep desires and deep secrets and, you know, things that are kind of overly selfish that you don't want to expose to the world, because, you know, the world will look at you like, huh? Even though the whole world has deep desires also that they won't expose. But just that energy of not wanting to expose it because it's very sacred or it's very cringe or kind of you know, that type of thing. That's the 8th house energy. That is the 8th house energy. Secrets, desires, you know, taboo subjects, just anything that is occulty, that type of thing. Those vibes. Just think of the vibration of how specific things make you feel, or just think of when someone says something and you're like, oh, don't say that right now. That energy, that is the 8th house. That's perfectly explained. That's the 8th house. So having Gemini here, girl, having Gemini in the 8th house, this is for what? This is for all my Scorpio, right? Oh my god, definitely someone who, this is the Gemini that's here. Because what you're constantly thinking about is some shady shit. You're probably the type of person that has sex with your friends, you know, secret sex with your friends, or secret sex with, like, your friend's brother, or, you know, just having sex with people that you're the off limits type of thing, because it feels better. It feels better to do it when you're sneaky. And listen, air signs are sneaky. But having, oh, I don't like this one. Blue. And it's like white. How do you guys feel about this? This is white. This is, I'm gonna use the white one. Yeah, but anyway, having, no, I actually like the orange one. There you go. Yeah, but having Mercury in Gemini in the 8th house, this is the more quiet Gemini. Observing, watching people, you know, extra, like, this is the Gemini that gets you get information whether you want to or not. You just walk in anyway and people are just already spewing in their life secrets and their life things to you, like, no matter what. People are just, like, coming at you. They're coming at you, you know, telling you secrets, and it just naturally comes to you. But you also may talk, like, you may pillow talk other people's business, because at the same time with Gemini energy, it's, as I said, you can rationalize anything, and sometimes you may say things you shouldn't say for the sake of upholding a conversation. So with you have a Scorpio rising with this particular placement, so you're naturally reserved, you know, you're very, like, to yourself, very private already, and you may talk a lot with people. You may spew other people's business with people that are closest to you. That's the thing. You know, you may know too much. That's the thing. You know more than you should know. And sometimes people just come to you, I don't know, you just maybe give off that energy, just like, hey, tell me anything, I won't judge you. And you're just sitting there extracting all that information. Sometimes it can get irritating because you may not always want people's indabas. Indabas is news, the tea, whatever, in Zulu. Indaba, that's, you know now, for all my American people. But like, you could be someone that just naturally knows things that you shouldn't. And having a Scorpio rising, you already know how to control your facial expression and, like, I don't know, give off this welcoming environment, healing energy because of that sexual energy. You know how to, like, provide that for people. So naturally, people just already feel comfortable exposing different secrets to you, you know. So the negative side of that is being able to give wise words back, you know, especially in, like, in danger, trouble people, whatever, who want to kill themselves. This is the type of person that knows how to talk someone off the ledge. For real. For reals. And if you are an artist, you probably talk about dark shit. But naturally, your mind is on some dark shit also. But what you naturally are always thinking about are people's motives and people's, like, objectives that they aren't saying out loud up front, you know. Because you always do this. You know you always have some kind of, like, a hidden agenda. And you know how to hide that shit well. And, you know, get what you need behind closed door. But you're constantly thinking about if other people are doing that to you fucking demon. Yeah, I know, yeah. I know, yeah. You know, it's the vibe, but whatever. As I said, we all ain't shit in this world. But yeah, that's the thing with this placement. You are constantly thinking about other people's motives and what they have going on that they want to gain from you. But, you know, they're not trying to tell you up front. For example, like, if I'm with a group of people and I'm a Gemini, Mercury in the 8th house, and someone comes up to me and they're acting all happy and whatever, I'm gonna think, nah, they want something. What do they want right now? You know, because it's a thing. Like, some people, you know, you have to first marinate people into wanting to give you something. So you have to make people laugh and then be like, anyway, guys, please borrow me money. That type of thing. So you're constantly thinking about that. Like, what do you want? What do you want? Why are you here? Why did you come say hi to me? Why did you do it? You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. And then, yeah, and that's the thing. But as I said, like, what you're constantly thinking about, you may not necessarily do these things, but you definitely may think about having sex with people that you're not supposed to have sex with. You know, your friend's brother or people that are just off limits. That type of thing, you know? Yeah, that's the thing. And with Gemini being very sneaky, because you know how to, like, create, like, you know how to word something so well and so deceptively. Damn, that really anyone believes you. Fucking liar. Jesus. This also makes you a liar. You're a cheater and a liar. You're a cheater and you're a liar. And I know with Gemini Scorpio placements, you're a cheater and a liar. And you have your eyes on every bitch and every nigga out there. And you don't know how to fucking close your fucking legs, you hoe. But I won't judge you at the same time. But I also think, yeah, I think having having Gemini in the 8th house, because this is sex and stuff, I think you may think a lot also during sex, you know, just overthinking everything, just thinking, am I doing this right? Or damn, even when you're having sex, you just get over it, like, damn, I don't want to do this anymore, but still moaning, like, whatever, and you know what I'm saying, shit like that. Very tricksterish, very childlike vibes. That's Gemini in the 8th house for a year. So moving on to Gemini in the 9th house for all my Libra risings, right? So having a Libra rising, you naturally will have your Mercury conjuncting your ascendant, so you will naturally someone that knows how to harmoniously communicate with people. But having your Mercury in the 9th house, I also have this placement, Mercury in the 9th house, but it's in Libra. You're naturally someone, you're constantly thinking and trying to rationalize, like, some spiritual shit. So I wouldn't even be surprised that you're probably trying to study astrology, you know, but it's difficult for you to sometimes articulate these existential thoughts that you have, because words really cannot encompass they cannot encompass and engulf the largeness of your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Because what you're naturally thinking about is, what you're naturally trying to dissect are things that can only be felt and experienced, you know what I'm saying? Or I don't know, some occulty shit. So I think astrology is a really good way to, like, I mean, astrology is also, it's like, astrology is a language, essentially. It's like a language of the universe. So studying that, you know, sometimes, I mean, it's easy to break things down, but sometimes you really can't explain them to its entirety, you know, without using square, conjunction, all of that, you know. Like, if you weren't into astrology, it would be very difficult for you to even relate sometimes to people without kind of sounding stupid. Because that's the thing with this placement, you might sound stupid sometimes. I have this placement, trust me, I know. You know, sometimes you may sound really dumb, even though you know exactly what it is you're talking about. And you know, like, you know what it is that you want to get out. But sometimes it's difficult for you to get it out. But maybe not as difficult because you still have Gemini in your Mercury. You know what I'm saying? So it won't be as difficult for you to, like, really come up with some ways of, like, orchestrating those words, but just having naturally, like, what you're thinking about naturally, something that you is, like, it's the ninth house, it's experiences. Ninth house is your experiences, your spirituality, it's higher education, you know, it's your wisdom and, like, philosophy and philosophical things, like existential philosophy. Maybe not existential is most of 11th house Aquarius vibes, but it's philosophical type of things, you know. And philosophical subjects can, I guess they would need, like, a higher vocabulary, which is why a lot of Sagittariuses are very, like, grammatically astute or whatever. So it could also be that situation where, like, you find that the only way to explain things is to use, like, parables and metaphors, or your grammar is so astute, you know what I'm saying? It's so astute, and you only speak in rich man. You only speak in mansion and Lamborghini. I'm just using those as, like, a way to explain, like, someone super rich and posh who would only use, like, a very high vocabulary, that type of thing. So that's the thing with Gemini, Mercury in the ninth house, that type of thing, you know. But yeah, I think what you're naturally thinking about is, like, it's just some philosophical things. You're always thinking about, like, the higher reason of things. Like, you're always thinking about, yeah, everyone is a piece of shit, but essentially everyone is a piece of shit because the whole world is just fucked up and all of that. Whereas someone who would have their Gemini Mercury in, like, the 5th house isn't really thinking existentially or philosophically. They're more so thinking about what is fun, right? But you in the 9th house, you're thinking about, like, what is the meaning of life? That type, and that's what's constantly on your mind. Maybe not constantly, but, like, that's what rules most of your thoughts. And even when you think something, you're always trying to find, like, okay, wait, what does this mean? Like, what is the universe trying to tell me right now? Just like every other spiritual person does, like, the spiritual community, we're always thinking, what is the meaning of this? Like, what is the universe trying to tell me? Like, what is the situation? What is it trying to teach me? What is it? Yeah. That's what you're constantly thinking about with Gemini in your 9th house, right? And it's, I think, maybe a lot easier for you to, like, have conversations like this because, like, even though, like, your Geminis and the 9th house, which is the opposite house, like, it's still easy for you to have conversations, but maybe it's, like, sometimes you sound stupid or you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, so then people around you just do this. And they just leave you to be in your peace and make you think that they understood what you said when they didn't. We're going to move on to what the 10th house. Great. So having Gemini in your 10th house, this is for what? The Virgo risings. Yeah, so Virgo risings, I know a few people with Virgo risings, and they are all doing some kind of, like, they're all artists. Like, one of them is an artist. And, I mean, 5th house, I mean, Gemini is all about their hands. Because you can also do sign language. But you can also, like, write information. You can journal and shit like that. You know, another Virgo rising that I know, he's into music. Yeah, he's a guitarist. So there's the one Virgo rising that I know. So Virgo rising naturally have their 10th house in Gemini, right? So, as I said, one Virgo rising I know is an artist, like I think they're a graphic artist and whatever. They just draw. They draw, right? And then another dude that I know, he's an actual musician, you know. So it's a very artistic placement to have here. But what you're constantly thinking about with this particular placement is how to get money from communicating and how to communicate, but how to gain structure from your forms of communication, or like how to convey specific emotions using whatever gift that you have, right? And that gift is either to like write poetry, or maybe you want to draw like my homies do, maybe you want to be a musician like my homie is, or maybe I'm trying to think of someone else I know who is a Virgo rising. That's actually all. Yeah, that's all. Oh yeah, both. So I know two. So I know three, and two of them are musicians. But the one is like like the one makes like melancholy music because he's a Virgo sun, Gemini moon, and then the other one kind of makes groovy music because he's a Capricorn sun, Virgo moon also, and his sun is in the 5th house and his moon is in the 1st house, you know. But they still do music, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like with this particular placements, you probably will be drawn to, because even the shorty that draws, she plays the guitar. So there's some kind of musical inclination. So I really feel like with this particular placement, you're definitely someone who's drawn to making music. Either way, which way, whatever. It's something that requires you to like formulate lyrics, because this is still words and this is still Gemini, you know. And you're naturally good. If not, you will eventually get good at like, you know, somehow like making music or anything that requires you to use your voice and your words, you know. You're eventually going to get good at that, regardless of whether you want to or not. I'm just like here playing with my hair casually, but yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with Gemini. In the 10th house, you're naturally gonna like constantly thinking about your business and your career and how people see you and how to orchestrate yourself in a particular way that people only look at you the way you want them to look at you. You know, you don't want people to look at you like a broke bitch. So you dress in specific ways and you say you read all the books so that you don't sound dumb, and you don't. I think this is the placement where you don't like looking dumb, you know. You always want to be seen as a smart person or someone that's like mentally astute or mentally rad. Yeah. You know, you're like really smart and your words are like killer words, and you know how to like use cool metaphors to explain things and like sound like all those rappers from Rhythm and Flow, whatever. What's his name? Damn, that guy's name is Flawless Real Talk. That guy, like Flawless Real Talk, that guy, you know. But that's the thing with Gemini in the 10th house. You're constantly thinking about your career, constantly thinking about like, how do I use my talents and how do I use specific people? How do I use my cousin? How do I use whatever I have to get where I need to get to gain stability for myself? So this is the same thing as I said with the 6th house and the 2nd house. You really, because this is an earth house and this is your 10th house naturally. So people already know you for being like someone very talkative or very fickle. They know you to have different moods. One day you dress like, I don't know, one day you dress like Hook. I love you, Hook, if you listen to Hook. One day you dress like Hook. Next day you dress like Rihanna. Next day you dress like Zoe Kravitz. Next day you know what I'm saying? You just change. People know you for being very transformative. Not transformative like Scorpio, but you change constantly. Like your look is never the same. But at the same time, it's like you are someone, like you're very fickle in the eye of the public or very changeable, you know. But you're very good at conversations and like calling people out and being very particular with what you say and being very particular with your words and being very particular with everything else that you're very particular with. You know, people know you for being that very picky. Or maybe you're someone that like, I don't know, because I'm thinking of this other homie of mine. Maybe you don't dress, like maybe you don't change how you dress, but like maybe, I don't know, your music or how you convey your artistry changes all the time. Yeah. Like you could be someone that your social media can change all the time. Or maybe like if you're a musician like my homie is, he's musical genres is different. And another like it doesn't even have to be that, just like having a Gemini 10th house having Gemini anyway is just gonna have a lot of different ideas or different like variety of something. So you may not really change how you wear or dress, but you change, like you know different instruments or you have different artistic abilities, and then you're known for having different artistic abilities, you know, that type of thing. You just have variety towards you, to you. That's the vibe. So yeah, that's what you're constantly thinking about. You're constantly thinking about your career, constantly thinking about what you can do to maintain stability, even though it changes all the time. So then moving on to Mercury in Gemini in the 11th house, right? So this is another trine because 11th house rules Aquarius, the Aquarius constellation. So with this also adds like a double emphasis on like thinking a lot. You're thinking a lot, but what you're thinking about is the existential shit of the world. Like, how you think is crazy, right? Your thoughts are like on some Marilyn Manson, I think that's his name. It could be that, you know, you could have like some kind of a culty leader type of thing, those vibes. But it doesn't have to be that extreme. Doesn't, I mean, you could be an extremist with this, but it doesn't have to be that deep. You know, I'm just talking shit right now. So having you a Mercury and Gemini in the 11th house, these are people that are constant. And just look at how dark it is. Like, this is it. Like, from the 7th house to the 12th house, that's when things get dark. And then from the 1st to the 12th house to the 6th house, that's when things are a lot more bright and stuff. It's so weird. But yeah, having your Mercury and Gemini in the 11th house, this is someone that's like, your thoughts can be, as I said, very existential. You know, you may be those type of people, like, you may think about you may think a thought, any thought, like, you may even think about your friend, right? And then those thoughts will lead you into thinking about what your friend does and their interest and how you got to be friends with them. And then you may start thinking, like, bigger than that, like, existentially big, like, thinking, oh my god, what are the odds that I met this friend? Like, what are the odds that what if I didn't go to the school? Would I have met this girl still? Is she still, like, was she meant to be in my life? And then you start thinking about these other, and then it leads you to thinking about, like, damn, like, why was I born into this star system? Why was I born into the Milky Galaxy? Do I have a twin in another galaxy that has eyes up here and their nose is actually their ear, and their ear is their mouth, and their mouth is their forehead? Do I think, you know what I'm saying? That type of shit. And then your thoughts just lead you into these crazy things. But it can also be really funny, because this is like, 11th house is going to be opposite to the 5th house. So the opposition signs will always share some things in common. So I know this particular placement also will produce some hilarious people, but it's going to be like on some existentially funny type of shit, you know? You're the type of person that thinks, damn, feet are so weird. They're like these things that help me move around, but like, why are humans, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are humans built? Like, that's the thoughts that you will have having Mercury in the 11th house. Yeah. You just start thinking, like, super like, you're the weirdo, but you like that shit because no one else thinks like you. Also, this is the type of person that could be like a scientist, super like tech geek, you know, into technology a lot. You know, you probably a hacker, you can hack people, I don't know, some weird shit like that. Or maybe because you're also so weird, you also may prefer introversion because your thoughts are so big, and you know, you've experienced things in your life that have made you, this is for all my Leo risings, by the way, so you've experienced situations in your life that have made you feel like you're like too weird to talk to, maybe. At the same time, I dated a girl with this particular placement, but she wasn't weird. She was, well, she kind of was weird. Yeah, so just honestly, 11th house is always gonna deal with some weird, unknown, like extraterrestrial type of shit, yo. Yeah, that's the thing with Mercury and Gemini in the 11th house. That's the thing with Mercury and Gemini in the 11th house. You guys are naturally thinking, maybe, let me just say, you're also probably thinking about your friends. It doesn't have to be on some existential shit like that, even though those are thoughts that you will have and you will encounter, you know. Also, this is definitely the placement for some mental illness too, you know, because you may think all these huge thoughts and not know how to even articulate them sometimes, or even how to make them real. So you may like just have some kind of personality disorder or something. I don't know, whatever. You know, whatever. Yeah, but as I say, it could also just be thinking about your friends a lot. You know, this is someone that's constantly on social media. You prefer getting into, like, as much as you have your own individualistic way of thinking about things, and even though it does change a lot, you like getting another perspective, like different perspectives on that particular subject that you're studying on, so that you can come to a conclusion of how to add all of those conclusions into your own conclusion, while still knowing how to dissect each and every single one of them. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And I think that also adds to that mental illness vibe. But yeah. But yeah, you're constantly thinking about your friends, probably always on social media, can never leave your phone because your phone has so much information and you love it. And we're gonna move on to Mercury in Gemini in the 12th house, the last house, right? So 12th house falls in Mercury because Mercury does not like the 9th or the 12th house, right? 12th house rules Pisces, and Pisces is home in Jupiter, so opposite of that would be Mercury, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, right? So having Mercury in Gemini in your 12th house, this is also someone that may be a lot more quiet, or whenever they say something, they just don't make sense. Like, what are you saying? What? But I think having Gemini here will help you. I think this is definitely, because I know someone with a similar chart, they're like a Gemini sun, like Kanye West. I mean, sometimes what he says is cool, but it's like, also, what are you, what are you saying? Like, I didn't get it. But then again, like, Kanye West has a Taurus Mercury, I think, so it's different. But just his sun and his moon, like, just think about how he's always thinking about some unrealistic shit. That's what you will think about as a Gemini in Mercury in the 12th house. Always thinking about some unrealistic shit, and then when that comes out of your mouth, it's either overly chaotic or it's some weird, like, what? It's like similar to the 11th house. Only 11th house is a lot more able to like articulate it better, you know, and they don't really give a fuck about if you understood them or not. But 12th house, this is for what? Cancer risings, right? So you probably even talk in your sleep. That's the thing. You talk in your sleep with this placement. You talk a lot. Like, your internal world is constantly moving and thinking and changing, my birds, fucking up and down and all of that, bro. Fuck. You know, that's the thing with Gemini and Mercury in the 12th house. You guys may be very like you have, because this is the thing, it's still a fluid house, right? Because it rules Pisces, and Pisces is a mutable sign. Mutable meaning fluid, meaning changeable, meaning adaptable, right? So it's like you're able to adapt to how other people think still, and because it's still a water house, you're also picking up on the emotion of it, but because this is the subconscious house, this is the house of your dreams and your illusions and your imaginations. You could delude yourself into thinking that you know exactly the emotional state someone was in when they said something to you, or even just when someone approaches you, like a stranger. You may assume or delude yourself that they actually feel this particular way, when sometimes they were just there to, you know, just have a conversation with you because they were waiting on their friends to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm using the examples that I use are because I live these lives, or I live this life as a 20-year-old Virgo in Johannesburg, in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Oh my god. Anyway, but with this particular placement, you could also, I mean, as I said, you could delude yourself into thinking that you know exactly what someone was feeling when they said that, but also concluding that you know what someone's emotional state is just based on what they're saying to you. And sometimes you could be right, you know. I mean, you're very psychic and like, yeah, intuitive with this particular placement. Having water, having your placement, like your planets in water houses, will entail some kind of intuitive psychic ability, you know what I'm saying, and tuning in and all of that shit. But having Gemini there, you may like just be a little bit ahead of yourself and be too smart for your own good, thinking that you know someone's emotional state, and even just thinking that you know someone just based on like the few conversations that you've had. But you don't, because once again, 12th house is all about deception. So you may delude yourself, or you also may have other people delude you, because with this particular placement, you will be gullible also. I know it. You will be gullible, but you also know how to manipulate other people too. But being gullible, though, that's not nice. As I said, I know this, guys. I'm also a little bit gullible, but I'm working on it right now anyway. Wow, this is deja vu. This is so weird. Once again, see, it's so weird. Whenever I make these videos, I literally tap into like the actual energy of it. And now I'm feeling it. I feel like you guys are very, like, it's difficult for you to, because if you really believe something, like, it can go any way. And sometimes you may even, like, drive yourself crazy thinking of all the many different thoughts of a particular situation, you know. It's like you don't know how to, like, sit still with concluding, like, okay, this is how I think about this, and this is it. Because it's always going to change, especially when someone gives you their perspective of it, you know. Like, it's easier for you to grasp other people's concepts and believe them than it is for you to believe what you think about it, because what you constantly think about it is ever changing, and it all really depends on the mood that thing was saying it in, or that information was saying it in, you know. So it's difficult for you to like conclude your own opinions about things, but you will believe someone else's opinions faster than you will believe your own formulated opinions on things. And that's when you down. That's when that's your downfall. That's your downfall, is being gullible. Or even at school. I think this is someone that probably daydreamed a lot at school. Having 12th house placements, you are a daydreamer for sure. Daydreamed a lot in school, and you know, it was difficult for you to like concentrate because your mind was on so many different like adventures, and you were thinking about all the things you would rather be doing, all the things that you want to do after the class or whatever. And even now, like, let's say you're out in university, or I don't know, you're a freelancer. Sometimes it's like really difficult for you to like really get real with yourself. And by real, I mean realistic. You know, it's very difficult for you to be realistic with yourself, bro. Anyway, I think I'm done now. This video is so long. This is probably my longest video so far on Gemini, on like the houses series. But anyway, guys, I'm done. I'm so tired. I'm gonna go do yoga and like eat. I really appreciate you guys like showing me your love and your support and commenting and like sending me money and you know, all of that. My birthday is literally on the 20th of September, which is in like 6 days. So I would really appreciate love and money, and I really appreciate cash though, so I can get myself better equipment to make these cool videos with, you know what I'm saying? There's that. And also to like buy things that I like for myself. But anyway, I'm done. I'm gonna see you in my next video when I talk about Cancer, Mercury in Cancer, and Mercury in Cancer through the houses and all of that. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the Gemini energy. I fuck with you as a Gemini moon. This is so long because I love talking. Anyway, bye. I'm done. Bye. Oh yeah, if you want a reading from me, hit me up on my IG and I will give you a reading, period. Anyway, okay, bye.